Welcome to the Inside CCW Safe podcast with founders Stan Campbell and Mike Darter. If you're forced to fight the battle for your life, CCW Safe will fight the battle for your future.
Welcome back to the CCW Safe podcast. I'm Mike Darter here in Oklahoma City.
Stan Campbell.
You're looking at me like, is this my intro? And we have Rob High with us again today. Rob High is our newest addition to our team. And today we're going to be talking about holiday tips.
Yeah.
We put this out every year as an article, but it's good to go in a little bit deeper of some things to do because, especially with this holiday season, as the other day we were talking about. So in Oklahoma City, was a couple weeks ago, we had this big ice storm. Trees were down everywhere. Power went out citywide. I was without it for like 6 days. I know Rob was without it more.
I was lucky.
Yeah, he's lucky. The lucky one. But a friend of mine, her brother had gone to get a generator, and generators were gone. I mean, he called a Home Depot one morning, and they had most of them were out, but this one store got like 50 generators in or something like that. He gets there. He gets the last generator.
Mm-hmm.
Swipes the card, has it, taking it out to the car. I guess he had it in a cart. As he was lifting up into his truck, somebody ran, sucker punched him from the left. Boom! He got to luckily keep the generator because somebody else in a truck saw it and started running over to him, and the guy took off.
Wow!
But things like that happen, especially when we have a year like we've had with everything that we've had going on this year, but also with the holidays. And the holidays are just the times when, as a police officer, during the holidays on graveyard shift, you find that Best Buy or whatever that is that people are going to drive into and get what they can, and you set up on it. And so you just have to be prepared. And Rob's going to talk about about this, and we're just going to get into discuss it.
Yeah, and like Mike said, we talk about this every year. And as police officers, we identified the pattern, and we always see it's right after Halloween. So right after Halloween, we call it robbery season. And so it's because fall back, the time falls back, and it gets darker faster, before people get off work a lot of times, depending on where you are in the nation. And, you have to really pay attention, and people start getting that mode of, I need to buy gifts, and, you start losing that edge that you once had. And then to add insult to injury, here we are in 2020 with everybody already having their robbery kits on. They're wearing their mask. So, and we're used to it. So you're not as uncomfortable when people approach you with a mask. Mm-hmm. So now you really, really have to pay attention to what's going on. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Rob, you worked in the robbery unit, correct?
I did,
yeah.
Okay. So talk about, some of that, the patterns and some of the things that go on, and let's get this kicked off on holiday safety tips.
Well, it was just like you were talking about. You get post-Halloween, and it's robbery season. Those numbers really go up, and then from Black Friday on, it really spikes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just simple little things that folks can be on the lookout for, and just kind of be a little bit more alert, more prepared, more cognizant of what's going on around them.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to run out to the mall. Everyone, get your list together and start grabbing stuff. One of the very first things I like to bring up is if there's any way possible, let's go do this stuff in the daytime.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I've got plenty of visibility. Everybody can see where I'm at. They can see what I'm doing. If something is amiss, I can holler for help. I can see other people that are available and that kind of thing.
Hey guys, he's not just talking about shopping.
Right.
That's getting your gas.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Going to ATM. Do as much as you can during the daytime hours and when the sun is up. Go ahead, Rob.
Well, and ATMs are a big deal too. I mean, absolutely. So select something that isn't necessarily the most convenient for you. You know, you may have one close to your house, but it's around the backside of a bank or something like that, and nobody's going to see you from the roadway. I like using a no-fee ATM at a convenience store because most of those convenience stores have really good video inside. I can get in and get out, and I don't really have to be that concerned with somebody coming up and taking my card and my cash that I get. ATMs are a big deal. You get into the season and you're distracted and you've got all these other things going on in your head. And you know, if you're like me, I'm not a shopper, I'm a purchaser. I know what I'm going to get. I'm going into the store, I'm going to make my purchase, and I get out. Not everybody does that. Some people want to go in and do the whole experience and take their time and go, you know, through a whole entire mall or whatever. So with those things, if it's at all possible, I like to get out and do these things in the daylight, daytime hours, get in and get out, and I'm home before dark. That's not the case with everybody. There's some of us that are working multiple jobs, and you've got kids and a family and other things you got to take care of. So if you got to go at night, select a well-lit area, park in a high traffic area where you've got lots of people coming and going. If there's any way possible, leave small kids at home with family or friends, because they're just another distraction for you. When you park, I know this is old stuff, but I know of cases that have happened, whether they're robbery cases or assault cases or sex crime cases, where somebody parks and there's a large cargo van or something close, and they're just unaware of the dangers that are there, and all of a sudden you've got somebody that's been taken. We actually had one of those a couple of years back at one of our local malls, and the lady was taken and assaulted repeatedly.
Hey, before you move off of parking, you know, because a lot of people, you know, of course, that's the importance of trying to get there early and, you know, making a plan and stuff. Parking, you know, if you're going to be there for a while, do you give an example of trying to find parking near a light, possibly, so that when it does get dark, do you do stuff like that?
I do, yes.
Okay.
And there's several of the places now that actually have their parking areas marked. You know, so you may be in area C or B or whatever like that. Another thing, we can utilize the technology we have available to us. I know different car makers have different things that you can do. I've got a truck that I can hit a deal, and it tells me exactly where my car is located. It just gives me a little map to get to it. But we could use an iPhone or something like that and drop a pin wherever you're at. That way I know exactly that I came in this section. I also want to make a mental note or add a note into your phone or whatever. And you have, you know, I come into the mall from the east side of the mall, and I know that I'm going in through Dillard's, and when I entered in through the men's clothing area. Yes. So you have that, and you don't have that panic when you're going out, going, oh my gosh, where did I leave my car?
Yeah, that way you don't have to search for it.
Correct. Yeah, I'm just going from point A to point B, and I'm in and out.
So one thing you had said earlier, Rob, you said this is old news or old stuff, and which is true to us, but there's a lot of people out there who this is brand new to. And one thing I wanted to, I'm thinking right now of my daughters. I have daughters that are, one's 18 or 19 now and 17, and you know, they've never heard anything like this. So one of the things, you know, if you have kids in college or even high school, try to have them listen to this, because this is great stuff for them. Right. And we think about that all the time about, well, everybody knows this, but just wanted to throw that in, because as you're talking about this, I'm like, man, this is something that Ash and I'll be dear.
Yes.
Right.
You know, and Asa as she gets older, so.
Correct. And then, you know, it's a really big difference between, you know, the type of thief that is just trying to pickpocket you, or, you know, grab something out of your cart when you're not looking, doing different things like that, and someone who is willing to knock you down, take your purse, pull a weapon on you, and ask for your money or your wallet or whatever you have. And these are the type of people we're talking about. This season brings out those predators.
Mm-hmm.
And as concealed carriers, you really have to, pay attention to, everything. Mike often talks about preparing. And that's really step one, is from the house, knowing what you're going to do, having a plan, knowing exactly where you're going, being familiar with the places that you go to. And, from there, it just kind of unfolds and you start thinking about, okay, well, what's the next move?
Mm-hmm.
What's the next part of my plan? Even when, and I like to always remind you guys, stuff in your hand, because as policemen, we never kept anything in our gun hand. So as concealed carriers, you have to do the exact same thing. So when you think about, you got 2 bags, well, you're going to have to hold 2 bags in one hand. So your shopping, it's important to have a plan for your shopping as well, so you don't have too much to take with you. Carrying, knowing where your firearm is, already being practiced. Even sometimes you need to practice with something in your hand, dropping it, and then going for your firearm. These are all the things that you need to do in preparation for robbery season.
And that's a lot of times when things, when things happen and you have 2 bags and then you get to your car and then you have to get your keys and you switch hands and you're getting to, so you have all these motor skills you're concentrating on. And those are the times if something happens when you're going to get caught.
Yeah, because, it's think about it as, and predators use this to their advantage, an ambush of the mind. Same concept of when, we used to see in the 70s, of course, but they still, they used to do it, when they would aggressively run into a bank, bam, everybody, all of that to create chaos. It's the same thing when someone's doing it, like, we'll take it down to a smaller scale, and what you'll see most often, the aggressive panhandlers, they come up on you and they startle you. They catch you from the blind side. They startle you and they, hey, and you're like, whoa, and you have to process every time, and especially when someone's doesn't have a weapon and they're moving forward on you, you have to continue to process, is this a threat, is this a threat? Well, you can't mess yourself up, because with the mental ambush, you have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to be aware what's in your hand already before you walk out of the door of the store. Have your keys ready. Have all that, bag without. You can drop your keys real quick and grab your gun. So all of these are the things that you have to think about during this time when you're shopping, because we get lost in the joy of it. So just be mindful.
Well, and on that same topic, it's going back with if I can eliminate those distractions and be observant, especially from the parking lot to the store and from the store back to the parking lot. Not that I don't have to be observant when I'm inside as well.
Correct.
But those are the times I really need to be on high alert. I want to touch base just on the fact that I'm talking about leaving small kids at home with a family member, if I can do that, because of that additional huge responsibility and distraction. But it goes to the same with we've got safety in numbers. So if I've got friends or family that got errands they need to run as well, that we can all go together, and that just makes it that much more safe for everybody involved.
Yes.
You get to an area that you've found your parking space. You get in. That's the time to put everything away. It's not time to be on your phone texting or if you need to make a call and let somebody know you've arrived, do it once you're inside.
Yes.
But if you've got a partner with you or a family member or somebody, you can just go ahead and be, you've got 2 sets of eyes versus one. You see more things and you can communicate and be alert to those things.
Absolutely. And then, and speaking of that, and we were talking about people for a second, being aware of your surroundings, we are all conditioned now, we haven't been for the past 8 months, on people walking up to you, walking past you with masks. Well, now this is the time where you have to use some of your extra thought process, you know, skills in reference to identifying people. So when people start walking by you, you know, just start playing in the mind. If you're not on the phone and stuff like that, you just say, hey, oh, this guy's got blue jeans on. He's about 6 foot tall, blah, blah. Like we did that as cops all the time. You know, we just kind of, you know, we orange shirt, blah, blah. So that when the person leaves, because once an attack comes, you're going to lose a lot of that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So as people are walking past you, you know, just people watch as you're engaging, you know, in your everyday life. You know, as people are going by you, because you already know they have a mask, you can't see their face, but you still might be able to look at their eyes and make sure you look people in the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really important.
That's a big deal. Yeah. Exactly like that. These predators are really good at reading body language.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, like you were talking about, you've got a mask on now. You've hidden a little bit, so I need you to be that much more confident. Look somebody right in the eye. Address them. Hey, good afternoon. How are you doing?
Yeah.
And just keep on your way.
Mm-hmm.
Because that confidence is something that kind of sets them back as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mike, tell us about that study, you know, a couple of years back that.
Yeah. It's a couple of years, 20 years.
Well, you know, I'm not trying to date you.
Yeah. So back when I was still with Oklahoma City Police, we had the opportunity to interview convicted sex offenders on what they look for in victims. And at the time, we were doing programs for, I think we did some for a couple hospitals on, you know, self-defense and more about situational awareness and intuition too, which is what I was going to mention about what you guys were talking about, looking people in the eye. But this study, we actually directly had the ability to communicate with about 50 registered sex offenders who were convicted, who were in serving time, and they were going through a program, a counseling program. And out of that, we asked them several questions, and the most important one that I got was, and a lot of times, you know, we're asking them how do they make contact with their victims, what do they look for in their victims, and they would always try to build confidence. Whether, hey, do you know what time it is? Hey, do you got this, or do you know where so and so is, or this location, and they get you to where they try to build an instant confidence and connection. But the most important thing was we asked them at what point would you disengage an attack, and we asked if the person started to fight back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all but one said the minute that there was any resistance or fight back, they would disengage and go and leave, because there's always an easy victim somewhere else and they don't want to go back to prison. Only one said that if they fought back, he would fight harder.
Yes.
So that was pretty important. And talking about intuition, you're talking about looking people in the eyes and with these masks. And Rob, I'd like to ask you this, because I know this has come up before. You hear it all the time about victims. A lot of victims knew before the attack something was wrong, but they disregarded that, whether they didn't want to offend somebody, or they didn't want to, cause any, or they didn't want to, blame somebody for something and then be, called out themselves. Did you see that in Robbery?
Absolutely.
And did you talk to victims about that? And and people said that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I've even seen it with police officers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Guys that have been involved in shootings that they didn't want to say anything to their partners. They didn't bring something up because they didn't want you to think that, man, he's afraid.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's afraid at times.
Yeah.
That gift of fear keeps you alive. That's a really big thing. We have this thing built into us that I don't care if it's something that makes the hair on the back of your neck stand up or whatever it is that causes that trigger in you. I just think it's really, really important that everybody out there pay attention to that. You're hearing that voice for a reason.
Mm-hmm. There's a good book, too, on the gift of fear. Gavin
DeBecker.
Becker, yeah.
Yeah.
DeGraw is an awesome singer.
Yes.
But yeah, no, there's a great book. And if you're listening to this and want to say, hey, you know what, I'd like to learn more about this, or I'd like to get something for somebody this Christmas that might be able to help them in, again, I'm thinking about my daughter in college.
Yeah, that's right.
This would be a great book to look
is.
into.
It's an easy read, and it's got a lot of great information, and it's just exactly on that. We have these instincts built into us, this intuition, and for whatever reason, because I don't want somebody to think I'm scared or whatever, we kind of push those down.
That's right.
I say listen to them and be safe.
And are the eyes I don't know if this is correct, but I would assume it is. I would think that the eyes are a great indicator of
They are.
your intuition.
But it's the same thing that I can relay back to the other person involved in this. I can have somebody that I pick up on, and it's like, okay, this guy's going to be aggressive. This guy's a possible threat. And I flip the script on him, and that's why I want to be the one to engage him. Because all of a sudden they see that confidence and especially for daughters and mothers and spouses and things like that out there, I want them to have that understanding. Don't be submissive. Don't look down in a way.
Correct.
You got to
Look right at them and engage them. You don't have to sit there and have a conversation, but let them know that I see you.
Yeah, and what Rob's talking about when he says engage, so you guys don't get confused on that, he's talking about verbally and with your nonverbal as well, talking about your eyes to his. You can see a lot, people will tell you what they're going to do. Even if someone's coming up and talking regular and they're looking around while they're talking to you, hey, you got the time, and, they're looking to see if anybody else is watching. You need to be getting ready for something about to happen.
Well, I call that the friendly stranger. They're coming up, I don't know them, and they're being maybe even a little too friendly, and that's a flag.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last week I was at Penn Square, and I'd made an order, a Pottery Barn, went in and picked it up, and as I was walking out, this guy was didn't look like he was leaving the mall, but he, walked over, I think, kind of to a phone, and I kind of had my eye on him because there's not that many people at the mall.
Yeah.
Like there's hardly anybody, especially in that one little area, that north side of that entrance. So as I walk out, he walks out behind me, and I walk out, and I start kind of diagonally heading across, and he's like, "Oh, well, you didn't give me anything?" And I kind of laughed. I said, "Hi." I kind of turned and looked at him, and I started walking, and I turned around and looked at him again because it was that exact thing. It just was a uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah.
And it's like they're, somebody trying to be friendly and approach it. And it was just, it got, a weird feeling. And I turned and looked at him, right before, and just that eye contact. And I think that confidence, and, I don't know, he may have just been being friendly. I don't know. You never know, but you can't ever take that for granted. And just simple eye contact of keeping your eyes on somebody, I think that was exactly your term there. That reminded me of that big time.
Right.
Yeah, like for me, and of course, I can go from teddy bear to grizzly real quick, but I get real mean when unknown people walk up on me, and I don't have a problem with it. And just like if somebody if you don't know me and you're walking toward me before you even utter a word, I say we don't want any, and it confuses them. But I'm really serious. I said, we don't want any. I let them know immediately that you have not walked up on a victim, sir. So turn around, go find somebody else. And sometimes you got to tell them that. And, they'll know, but you give them the eye, you give them, that verbiage, and just say, don't come a step closer.
That is a great example, too, of what Andrew Branca is talking about, of removing that ambiguity.
Yeah.
He's talked about that before, and we've talked about that before. And if you haven't heard of that, he talks about removing the ambiguity of a situation because, again, a lot of people, they don't want to offend anybody. They don't want to, call the police because it's really nothing, and then it becomes something. But if you remove that ambiguity of somebody walking to you, say, stop, we don't want any, whatever, and they continue, then at that point, you've already removed that. You've given them a command not to come any closer. They come. That's when you really need to start paying attention and trying to get barriers, trying to get into a vehicle or whatever. I love that he has talked about that in the past, and that's a perfect example of that.
Yes, sir. Let's go into you did safety in numbers. Real quick on convenience stores, because people get lost so quick. Convenience stores and gas stations, because we talk about aggressive panhandling, because you're going to run into that a lot. So kind of talk about that, the setup of parking, paying attention to what's going on inside and stuff.
A lot of these places have a lot of signage in the window. So as I pull up, I can't necessarily see everything that's going on the inside. So I want to be really cautious as I make entrance. And it's almost, as an officer, when I come in, I kind of pie an area and get the scope of the area as I'm coming through and seeing things.
That's what you mean by pie, right, for the audience?
Yes. And I just want to take this wedge out and just clear it and make sure everything's good. And I start, if I have the ability to, with the cash register, with the check stand area. If there's no threat there, then I go ahead and move my way through the store. But it can be the same thing at the gas pump, just like it would be at an ATM. I want to make sure that I'm paying attention to my surroundings. I'm paying attention to the guy that pulls up on the other side of the pump next to me. There's just all kinds of things that are potential hazards. They're not probable, but the potential is there. It's just the ability to kind of slow yourself down a little bit and familiarize yourself with those surroundings, and your situational awareness goes up.
Yes, and he's absolutely right, and that's where I want him to hit, is that everyone's in the bad habit of driving in, you see open spot, pull in, you jump out and you walk in, or just go to the pumps, and you're not seeing who's hanging out by the ice machine, who's hanging out by the door, the people that. Why are you hanging out at the convenience store? There's no one that does that.
Right.
So you have to really watch people who are just chilling at the convenience store. Right. So when you pull in, you scan immediately, just like Rob said. If it's the gas pumps, if you go into park, you scan. I always scan. I just slow and I stop. I don't care if somebody's coming in behind me. I slow, I stop, and I look and I scan the entire parking lot. Then I scan inside, because I want to make sure there's not somebody at the cash register doing this.
Yeah, just
because the worst thing that you want to do is be caught off guard walking into a store where somebody's robbing it and you're not ready and prepared, and you're on your phone or whatever, and they're coming out and you're going in. That's a terrible feeling.
Right.
So you don't want to have that. So I would say break it down to 3 pauses. Pull in, pause, see who's at the gas pump, see who's at the ice machine, who's outside the door chilling. Next one is when you pull into the parking lot, pause, look at your mirrors, make sure nobody's coming up on your cars, scan again, those same people, make sure that the people that you saw where they were, make sure they're there. Third one, get out the car before you walk into the door, pause. You look at make sure that the person that's helping people doesn't have his hands up, nobody has got something over their head, pointing anything, and then you walk in. So you do a 3 pause thing when you drive in. Right. I mean, that's really what I do.
Pat McNamara had he used to talk about that, I think like a 525 scan or whatever, and even at like Target or grocery stores, just pulling into your space, pausing, scanning right, scanning to the left behind you, and seeing how many people you can find that are watching you, that are looking at you. So, yeah,
that's a great tactic.
And just taking that time, like you said, just a short pause is big. And, it might not be a threat against you. You might walk in on a fight. And, there have been 2 fights in the last 6 months in Penn Square Mall that turned into shootings.
Right.
And you walk in, you don't know what's going on. And it may not be a threat directly against you, but if bullets are flying, that can be a threat directly against you, even if it's not aimed towards you. So,
absolutely.
Let's touch on the don'ts. Things that we absolutely have control over. We can eliminate these things as we come in. We already talked about it as you come into your parking lot, you get everything set up. You're getting ready to make your exit from the car. You survey your surroundings. You get out. You're making your way to your entrance. Don't be on your phone. Don't get distracted with text or a phone call or anything else. stay alert, stay focused, and move from point A to point B. The other little things.
Can I add one? And also, we did as cops all the time, really about half a block before we got to a call. But for you guys, before you enter a parking lot, ATM, whatever, convenience store, undo your seatbelt as you are pulling in. That's one less thing you have to worry about. That's one less distraction, because Rob talked about distractions. One less distraction, because people kind of tend to look down to do things like that. And that way it's already off, because if somebody, comes inside the car while you're getting, that's one less thing you can do when you look away.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Little basic things. As we're going in, and then the three of us are pulling into the mall and we're getting ready to get out, don't leave your valuables inside the passenger compartment where people can see them. You're just inviting somebody to smash your window and take your stuff.
Yeah. Hey, let me add one more to that, because I hate it when I have any type of female, my mom, my sister, anyone with me, daughter. Ladies, do not park and then pop your trunk and put your purse up. If you're going to do it and you want your purse, and the purse is better in the trunk than it is underneath, but if you're going to do that, plan to stop a block away and then do that and then drive to your location. That way no one sees you put your purse in there, because that's where you get the smash and grabs, and they'll mess around with your trunk and such.
I was going to go to the don't carry your big purse with you.
No, that's that's even a little purse, but go with don't carry your big purse.
So yeah, let's go ahead and handle that ahead of time. So I'm going from the car to my venue, to wherever I'm shopping. That's just something else. You don't have to be concerned with somebody coming up and doing a purse snatching or something like that. Keep your wallet, or even better yet, just keep your credit cards, debit cards, and ID in your front pocket. That way I'm not worried about somebody picking my back pockets as I'm going through and shopping. I'm not worried about somebody coming and purse snatching something from me. Everything is
last
right there.
year, Mike and I discussed, carrying the two wallets, because I do that often, and
Yes.
that's also a good idea as well. I keep all my Subway cards and all this other stuff and a little bit of cash in one wallet, right? And I keep all my main credit cards and stuff in a secondary wallet, because somebody gets the jump on you and they pull out a gun and they say, give me your wallet, I'm going to give them that one.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times, that way they can get that distraction or that decoy wallet, then you can engage with your firearm, because you can't do both at once.
Right.
Go ahead. You got anything, Michael, on that one?
I was just going to say, make sure you know which pocket the right one's in.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold
always,
on. Here's the.
Always keep. No, that's good. But keep that. And be mindful. Yeah. Your good one's on your gun side. Your decoy wallet's on your left side, because that way you already know you're not going to grab nothing with your gun hand. So that's your decoy. But that is a good point.
Well, along those same lines, with the don'ts, is don't carry a large sum of cash. If you can make all your purchases on a debit or credit card, let's go ahead and do that. I don't want to pull out a big stack of bills and all of a sudden have somebody that really wasn't interested in making me a victim today, and all of a sudden they see what I've got, and I get followed out to the parking lot when it's time to go. So
we used to do that in Impact. Bill Patton and I would walk around Penn Square Mall like counting our money when it was in Impact, saying like, God, will somebody please
come rob me,
come jump us? But it would never happen. Imagine that.
And we don't got to stay on the negatives. We got several positives, several do's that we can take care of as well. As we're going through, especially if I'm the guy that I said I'm a purchaser, but I'm going to purchase and I'm going to make one trip if I can make it. So I may have 6 stores that I'm going to visit. And as you're going through and doing your things, go ahead and consolidate your bags. Put your smaller bags inside your larger bags. Keep everything reduced down as much as you possibly can. And if it gets to be too much to carry, make an additional trip out to the car and secure that stuff in your trunk. Don't get so bogged down that you are just an obvious victim trying to get out to the parking lot.
True.
Again, like I touched on, put those purchases in the trunk. You guys touched on it a little bit earlier. As I'm going through the parking lot, I want to go ahead and have my keys ready. They're available, so I just go straight from point A to point B. Again, I'm not on my phone. I'm not distracted that way. I'm looking for my surroundings. I know that I've marked it in my phone that I'm going from point A to point B before I ever leave the building. Put the phone away, get my keys ready, make my way out to the car. I go first to the trunk, secure my stuff in the trunk, get in the vehicle, lock the door, start your car and go. There's no sense to stick around and make a call or anything. You can do that when you get down the road.
Absolutely. You know, I think about of course you have the garage doors now that kind of text you now when they're left open. But you know, Mike's, you got caught a couple of times when somebody got a bike from you and some other things like, and a guy walked into your garage.
Yeah, I walked in my garage one night.
So you know, like even we get distracted sometime in life, and we forget certain things, or even the thing. You know, I've had it where my neighbor calls me and says, "Hey, your garage door is open," because I did get the text, but I didn't have my phone on me at the time, so I didn't catch it. But keep your garage doors down. You know, if you're working out there, once you go back in the house, make sure you shut it. If you're shopping, when you return home, do the 3 pause situation again.
Yep.
Pause before you pull into your driveway. Make sure everything around you, nobody's hanging around your house you don't know. When you open up your garage, when you pull in, look again, check your mirrors, you know, before you stick it in park, you know, because if somebody comes up on your car, you might have the opportunity to put it in reverse real quick and get out of there. But pay attention to everything around you, and then pause again, you know, before you get out. And the same thing like we talked about when you're entering a parking lot, before you go home, take that seatbelt off. So that's one less distraction that you have. So get into the habit of doing the pause thing that we're talking about, because it really is important and to save you.
Yeah, I agree. And I worked a case exactly like that. A guy was a business owner. He didn't do his bank deposits till the following morning, so he would take everything home with him, pulls in his garage, and as he's getting out, some knucklehead comes around the corner and out of the darkness and is pointing a gun at him, and the guy gets robbed in his own garage. I mean, he got a whole day's worth of profits from his business, and he gets the kid follows him home and sticks him up at home. One of the other little deals, really, really simple. We don't always think about it, but especially in this day and age, there's so many more folks that are doing online shopping.
Yes.
As you're going through that stuff, before you enter your purchase information, your credit card stuff and that stuff, make sure that the site that you're shopping with is using an encrypted, secure page for the payment. I don't want to leave anything out there floating around, so all of a sudden I'm getting my card.
What does that look like so that they know?
Like usually a green lock, or in the address bar there'll be some kind of little icon marking. Another thing, which I've gotten this quite a bit lately, and I'm sure a lot of people have, be careful on text. I've been getting a lot of texts. Hey, get your, 70% off, or you've got a free gift waiting for you at this, and a lot of people will just tap that, not thinking about it. And if it's not a number you know, or it doesn't have the business in there that you have, even if it does have the business, I wouldn't tap it, because that opens you up to, with your phones or online, taking you to a malicious site.
Correct. So. Another thing is post-holidays. You have everybody at the house. All the gifts have been exchanged. All the boxes are open. Cut your boxes up.
That's right.
Take your stuff and
don't let them know what you got.
Yeah,
unless you have
don't
small
advertise.
kids, because they're going to play with the boxes more than anything else.
If you have a big screen TV, don't just cut it up and throw it away in the big bag.
Yeah,
because you
don't
advertise what you just got for Christmas, because somebody's a little bit hungrier than you will have what you have.
Sure.
Yeah, we just don't want that. That's awesome. Let me see, what was the other last thing? Communication with your family. I mean, if you're out shopping in the mall, treat it like any other big event. So think about the mall like a huge, event, or, Disney World, all that place where you I used to like taking quick pics of my children, so I know what they're wearing and stuff like that.
Right.
Have
a great
have a
idea.
rally
Great idea.
point.
Yep.
Like rally points are really important. Say, okay, when we're going in here, but at this time, I need you guys to meet me here because you got active shooter possibilities. It doesn't happen too often, but if it happens, everyone needs to know where to meet.
Correct.
So you have to think about that. This is kind of a little bit extra, but it's still when you having, you're eating in a restaurant. See if they'll sit you by a secondary exit, or at least make sure your family knows where the exits are when you sit down. Those are important.
I agree. Little quick note, because I know we discussed avoiding taking small children if you can. Obviously, there's going to be folks out there that can't.
Correct.
In that event, you really need to work with training your kids up on how to contact people in a store for help. And if they're too small to have the memory and understanding on how to give all the information, you can just pin like your information inside their pocket, and if you get lost, take this out and give this to that person.
I like that.
Yeah,
And that way
that's
you've got a cell phone contact or something like that, and maybe you can get a phone call that way.
Yeah, it's really good.
You might have to do that to me before too long. Here, pin this.
Hi, my name is Mike. Please call Stan.
Please call Stan. There's a couple other things I'd like to get in right quick before we sign off, because we're going to have to get off here in a minute. But we in the past, we had done articles about thinking like a cop. And a couple of the things that have come up, and you kind of hit it earlier, but restaurants always try to never sit with your back to the door. And then also I thought earlier about when you're coming to a location, whether it's a shopping mall or something, always have in mind where you're at, because if something happens, the first thing if you have to get on 911, the first thing they're going to say is, where are you at? What's your location? And that's something that we all take for granted. And then you just sit there and you're like, I don't know, just this critical whatever stress has just happened, and you're not going to remember. So as you get closer and closer, just look at a stoplight, just look at the street signs so you can adequately tell somebody where you're at if you need it.
My last tip before we close out also is I always talk about us being just conditioned, but you're conditioned now with these sounds and these alerts and stuff when you get texts and emails to immediately looking at your phones. But you need to train yourself during robbery season specifically that when you get it, when you hit an alert, the first thing you do is you look around. You look around, see who's around you, and then you look at your phone.
Yeah, like
because
that.
that way
point. Yep.
you don't get so locked into what's happening, get tunnel vision, and make yourself a victim.
Yep.
I think it's good.
Well, yeah.
That's good
Great
stuff.
podcast. You got anything, Justin?
Just the one thing that I see everywhere all the time is stay out of your phone.
Yeah.
People are zombies with that phone.
Yeah.
So if you do that, I think that ups your chances tremendously. Just
Oh, yeah.
that one thing.
You know, people are watching. I mean, these predators, they're going to be watching. You know, I was thinking about that earlier when you're talking about they're going to notice if you're. I mean, they're going to keep an eye on you. If you're not watching them, they're going to be watching you. So, yeah, they're definitely going to notice if you're on your phone. I agree. I think that's probably one of the biggest problems we have right now. So, well, maybe not the biggest, but a big problem during robbery season.
It's a distraction for sure.
Yeah. Well, Rob, thanks for coming on, man. Great to
you,
have
Rob.
you. Stan, great to see you.
Always good to see you.
We should be in our new podcast studio. We have a new podcast studio that is coming up, so we should be in that hopefully in the next couple weeks probably. Get that up and running. Justin, thanks for putting this together. And you
Hey,
guys,
also, before you say be safe, Rob has a couple of video series coming out soon.
Oh, yeah.
For Christmas. Pretty much talk about the same thing, but he kind of breaks it down video, and it's a little bit different format, and it'll be shareable. So also share this also, with your friends and family,
Definitely.
even if they're not concealed carriers, because it's important information.
And follow us on Instagram, Facebook, because a lot of these videos are going to be going out there, and that's shareable. It's easy. You can share it to your close family, people you love, and make sure they're safe this holiday season. So you guys be safe. Take care.
All right.
Stay safe.